Welcome to the Mendoza Podcast, financial talk that makes sense. I'm your Illinois State Controller, Susanna Mendoza, and I want to help answer all the questions you have about money matters, but we're maybe afraid to ask. We're going to learn a lot and have some fun together. Hi, and welcome back. Today we're tackling a concern for parents and kids alike, how to pay for college. Today we have Eric Zarnikow, Executive Director of the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, to help us walk through the process. Eric, Director, welcome.
Thank you.
It's nice wonderful to have you here. It really is. And I want to just start off, first of all, if you would be nice enough to tell us a little bit about the Illinois Student Assistance Commission and what is it you guys do over there?
Sure. So we go by the Illinois Student Assistance Commission. We go by ISAC. So I'm going to refer to it as ISAC. And we're really the states.
First of all, thank you. So I don't have to say Illinois Student Assistance Commission throughout the course of this interview. So let's go.
So we're really the state's college access and outreach agency. So I think about it that we serve at the intersection of money and knowledge. So when you think about when you're planning to go to college, thinking about going to college, you really need two things. You need to know how to apply to college, how to get financial aid, how to compare different schools, and then you need the money to be able to go. So that's why I think about it as that intersection of money and knowledge.
That's a really, really good point. It's a great way of describing it. So let's just start at the beginning, right? Let's say my husband and I just had a baby, always a fun, exciting moment. But do we need to start thinking about saving for college before our kid could even walk?
I'd say the short answer to that is yes. So Albert Einstein is quoted as having said that the most powerful force in the universe is compound interest.
That's right. Our best friend, right?
Yes. So you want compound interest on your side. So the earlier you can start saving for college, the better. So I always tell people, start with what you can afford. That might be $25 a month. It might be $50 a month. It might be $500 a month. Whatever it is, it's good to start early so you get the benefit of compound interest.
And on that point of compound interest, I mean, people can get overwhelmed if they weren't saving, right? So let's say they start hearing about this and go, oh my goodness, if time is my best friend with compound interest, I mean, do you get to a point where it's too late to start saving?
I'd say it's never too late to start saving. Obviously, it's better early because if your child's 18 years away from going to college, you have more time to save a smaller amount each year or each month, and then you get the benefit of compound interest. So if you're starting when your child's a freshman in high school, you have fewer years to be able to accumulate enough money to pay for college. But it's never too late to start. Absolutely. It's never too late.
And so what are some of the best vehicles or best options you think for saving towards this goal? I mean, does that depend on your child's age? But, what are some of the instruments that we should be looking at?
Sure. So I think one of the best instruments is a 529 plan. So those are specifically designed for saving for college. And basically the amount that you put into the plan, any earnings or interest that accrue over time are not taxed. And that's a great benefit. In Illinois, there's a 529 plan called Bright Start. And Illinois also provides a benefit because the amount you put in is deductible from your Illinois state taxes. So you save 4.95% of whatever you put in on your taxes. There's 529 plans in almost every state, so shop around, take a look at them. But the Bright Start program is actually very highly rated by Morningstar.
Isn't it the best in the nation right now?
It's definitely one of the best, if not the best.
Manages that,
yes.
And I have to say major kudos to him because he's done a really good job with that fund.
Yeah, it's a great program. The costs are low. There's a lot of great investment alternatives. And once again, the state tax benefit really sets it apart from other 529 plans if you're an Illinois resident.
And then with the 529 plans, so essentially walk people through what you can do with that 529 plan.
So basically the 529 plan, you put the money in, you get benefit from interest or dividends or stock appreciation depending on the investments that you have. And then that money can be used to help pay for college. So it can pay for tuition and fees, it can pay for things like room and board, it can pay for books, it could pay for computers, basically any sort of expense related to going to college. And in addition, if your child doesn't go to college, up to $10,000 on a lifetime amount can be used to pay down your own student loans.
Nice. And can you use it for things like transportation costs?
Yes, basically any cost of attendance can be used out of the 529 plan.
So even if you wanted to purchase a vehicle for your child, can you use that if they're going to take it to college?
I'm not sure if you can, I would have to check
Yeah.
technically if you can purchase a vehicle or not, but normal transportation expenses you could
Like the
do.
train back and forth or gas reimbursements
Exactly.
or stuff like that, maybe?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one nice thing too about the 529s plans is they have a lot of great investment choices. So one of the questions I get a lot is, what should I invest in?
Mhm.
So they have funds that are basically set to when your child would enroll in college.
Mhm.
So
Like
if you
target funds?
they're basically like target date funds you might have in a 401k plan. So if you were smart, you invested right after your child was born, the investments will be more aggressive in the early years, more
Sure.
stock, less fixed income. And then as your child approaches when they're going to go to college, the investments shift to become more conservative. So you're not impacted as much if there's a big market downturn just as your child's about ready to go to college.
Yeah, kind of similar to what we've experienced recently, right? So if
Yes.
you had this money that you thought you had and then boom, you see a 20% reduction, that might really hurt. Whereas as you get closer to that, it would smooth it out and you're not going to feel the impact of like a market downturn.
Definitely.
So yeah, that's really good. And then there have been some changes recently to the 529 that allow you to use some of that money for a Roth, correct?
Correct. So if your child ends up not going to college, there's limitations on it, but some of the money can be
Just a
rolled into
small
like
amount,
a
but
Roth
something.
IRA.
Yeah.
And the great thing too with the 529 plans is if you have multiple children, you can change the beneficiary to one of your other children.
Mhm.
If you have a close family member that you want, or you can use it yourself. It just
Mhm.
has to be used for qualified educational expenses.
Yeah, I
That's-
thought one of the good things with allowing people to use it for a Roth, a portion of it, a small portion, is that there are families who, may have thought for sure that their child was going to go to college, but ends up taking a different path and maybe wants to start a business, or,
Yeah.
just isn't for the 4-year university or any kind of like in that scenario. There's other options, right? And so versus being
Yes.
completely locking up all your money into a 529. So I did think that was a really nice change to it for those families because, I've met plenty of them who are like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have invested so much. Although I totally think you should put as much as you can into 529. But it is nice to see that there is some flexibility now that's being injected
Yeah.
into the system to maybe get more people to invest without the fear of locking up all their money.
I'd say one of the nice things too is even if you end up in the situation where you don't have anybody who's going to use the benefit, you can still withdraw the money.
Mhm.
It's still your money. You have to pay taxes on the earnings, and there's a 10% penalty on the earnings. But that's not the worst thing in the world. You've got tax
Right.
deferred accumulation, and you're planning and saving for your child's future.
That's right. I think it's a super, super smart vehicle. And to your point, in Illinois, that Bright Start program is doing really well. So I think it's a benefit for our state.
I was going to say one of the nice features of that also is you can put in automatic withdrawals or automatic contributions right out of your checking account.
So you don't really feel it. You kind of
Yeah.
like budget that, we're going to forget about this money. And you essentially pay yourself first. You're paying for your
Yep.
kids' education first. And then you see over years how that grows exponentially because of our compound interest friend, right?
Exactly.
So I always tell my son that his best friend, even though he says it's the Tylers, it's really compound interest.
Absolutely.
So, yes.
Einstein was right.
He's right, totally. Now, what about financial aid? I mean, do we really need to fill out the FAFSA form, even if we're pretty sure our family might not, qualify for financial aid? And I'm talking about any family who feels that
Yeah.
they're in a situation where they hear about it. They say, you're not going to qualify because you make too much money. Do they need to fill out the FAFSA form?
I still encourage people to fill out the FAFSA. I mean, there are people who have great financial resources where they're just going to write a check. It may not be necessary
Wouldn't that
for
be
them.
nice?
Yeah, that
Oh
would
my
be great.
goodness.
That's not
I have
obviously.
no concept of that.
Yeah,
Yes.
obviously that's not most of us.
Yes.
So filling out the FAFSA really is opening the door to financial aid. And that's both federal financial aid like Pell Grants. We also use it as the application for the state's need-based program, the
Mhm.
Monetary Award Program, or the MAP program.
So if you fill out the FAFSA, do you have to fill out a different form to qualify for the MAP, or is that like all included under FAFSA?
Generally, you don't. So it's all included under
Okay.
FAFSA.
So yeah,
you
it
don't
totally
even
makes sense.
you don't even have to have heard of the MAP grant program to be eligible for it.
So if you
apply
apply with the FAFSA application, if you qualify for any kind of federal funds, they would notify you that, hey, thank you for your application. Here are the programs you qualify for.
And typically what happens is when you fill out the FAFSA, you put down the schools that you want your information to go to, and then they provide what's called a financial aid award letter that tells you what you're eligible for. Also, besides the federal Pell Grant, it's also used for student loans, it's used for work study, some other federal aid. In addition, most schools use the FAFSA for determining institutional aid. And a lot of other scholarship programs also want you to fill out the FAFSA. So it's a great starting point. I really encourage people to do it.
That's awesome. And so how do you talk to lots of parents all the time about, like, here's what you should do for your kid? Because you are who you are, you probably can't go to a single dinner party and not have people go, hey, little Johnny's going to, what do you recommend? Right?
Well, I try not to tell people, no, I'm kidding, but sort of like the doctor, my elbow hurts, what do you think?
I know, right?
So yeah, you end up giving a lot of college advice to people and to family. I mean, my niece's son, he's getting ready to go to college, so we've had a lot of conversations about financial aid. And the great thing too with ISAC is what we call the ISAC core. So we hire recent college graduates. We train them in a residential training program over the summer, and we train them on college application process, the college match process, completing the free application for federal student aid. We deploy them all over the state, and our services are free to anybody. And we do a lot of work in high schools doing FAFSA completion nights. We do work in community with community organizations, and you can actually go onto our website and you can schedule online a virtual meeting with one of our ISAC core members.
Oh, that's cool. That's new. The whole virtual component makes perfect sense, right? So I know that you are not lying to our viewers, because when I was city clerk of Chicago, we used to host nights for FAFSA applications, and we'd have kids come from all over the city, and we would team up with you guys to help them fill out these applications. It's just having access to it, and it can seem overwhelming, especially for people whose parents maybe didn't go to college and might be from diverse backgrounds, right? Like, how do you even approach this? It seems so overwhelming. And every little bit of help really makes a big difference.
I mean, it's scary to a lot of people. And part of the reason we use what we call a near-peer mentoring model. So it's recent college graduates. We hire them on a 2 or 3 year program, and they're really still a peer to a high school senior.
Yeah.
So if I go talk to a high school senior, it's like blah, blah, blah from their parents.
Totally.
If it's somebody more their age who just graduated from college. Yeah, exactly. It's much more, it's much more relatable.
For
right?
sure.
So
no doubt.
I'm more like their parent, where our ISAC core members are more like a peer. And we know from research, people tend to listen to their friends, right? They go talk to their friends about things. So that's the reason we have that model. And we really have people all over the state. So we cover the entire state of Illinois.
Well, that's a great model. And it's true. I think it just takes a lot of the fear factor out of it, right? And so then when one kid goes, meets with a buddy, right? And then realizes this is not that hard. They're going to go tell another friend, hey, you got to go do this, right? I mean, why would you leave free money on the table? And that's how people have to kind of see this, is it's a worthy investment of your time to go fill out this application and then see if you end up getting an offer from a university or college that says, hey, we can offer you this little bit of money for if you come to our school. But if you don't apply, it's kind of like playing the lotto. If you don't ever buy a ticket, you're not going to win, right? So,
and I'd say for the lowest income students, the federal Pell Grant is a little under $7,400 a year. The MAP grant is about $8,000 a year. So it's over $15,000 that can help you pay for college. And many schools also have promise programs. So if you're kind of median, middle income or lower, they will cover tuition, and you won't have to pay anything for tuition and fees. You still have other costs of attendance, but most of our public universities have those kind of programs. Many of our community colleges have that type of program. So I think nobody should rule themselves out. It's always worth applying and understanding where can you go and what money might be available to help you.
Yeah, that's great. And so what we've been talking about right now for the last few minutes has been federal grants and funds that you don't have to repay.
Yes.
But what advice would you have for a family who might find themselves in a situation where they need to take out a loan mean, should you go through the federal government, or should these families like walk into a private bank and ask for a student loan? What are their options?
Yeah, so what I always tell people is I would always start with a federal loan. Generally, the interest rates are going to be better. They're a fixed rate, and there's more likely some sort of repayment program that can help you, like an income-based repayment program. Or if you go into public service, like you're in public service, there's the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program. So often the federal government will have better options and benefits, lower interest rates. So I would always start there. I always tell people also, don't borrow more than you need. It's easy when the money's on the table to say, I'll take as much as possible, but then you have to repay it, and you have to repay it with interest. So that compound interest force of the universe goes in the opposite way.
Yes,
exactly.
That works for the bank.
I always tell parents too to be careful about taking out parent loans. There's times you need to, and it's appropriate, but you don't know. And I think it's important to set expectations with your children. So my parents, I'm one of 5 kids. As early as I can remember, they said, you're on your own for college. So I worked, I took out student loans. I was fortunate. It was a great decision for me, but they set that expectation. So I think it's important to have those conversations with your kid. It can be hard to say, here's what we can afford. If you want to go someplace more expensive, it's on you. But here's what we can afford. Community colleges are a great option. A public university is a great option. There's a lot of great private universities as well. But I think setting those expectations is really important, and understanding for your child what the expectations are.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that is a difficult conversation because, of course, parents for generations have been urging their kids to go to college. But college, as you know, is very, very expensive, whether it's college, university. Even for some kids, going to a community college might be a tough, financial pill to swallow. But this is why starting early is, of course, going to give your kid the best leg up. Because even if you can't afford to pay for all of their college, at least you've made this conscious decision to have something in the bank accruing that compound interest and giving them at least some better potential options. I do think that when you think about having this discussion with your kid, there is some value in saying you've got to have some skin in the game, right? I knew my parents couldn't afford to send me to college, but I knew I was going to go to college. It was never a doubt in my mind. They always instilled the value of an education in me. And my parents would say that, because they didn't have any money, right? That they weren't going to leave me an inheritance other than a good education. And it's the best inheritance one could ask for, right? So they instilled the value of the education into me, which is really a wonderful inheritance to have. Having said that, I knew if I wanted to go to college, I better be really, really good at soccer, be the best I could be, because I need to get a scholarship. And I checked that box, and also have excellent grades so that I could get an academic scholarship. But I was able to do both. Not everybody can do that, but that's why you've got to kind of hedge your bets. And if you can't do that, if you're not good enough to get that scholarship, whether it's academic or it's athletic, and you still want to go to college, but you don't have the money, then you have to live within your means too. There are wonderful city colleges that can get you a leg up. And then from there, you build your way, right? But it's like getting in the door and not overextending yourself financially is critically important. Because if you end up going to a school that you can't afford, and then you don't get that job that you were dreaming of after college, and you end up working at a minimum wage job, or you can't even repay your loans and you're indebted $200,000 or $300,000, you didn't win in that equation, right? No. So better to start smaller, but just keep educating yourself, and then go pay as you can as you go. So, but the ideal situation is, of course, educate yourself financially, start saving as soon as you know you have this goal, or as soon as you wish this goal on to your kids, so that we can, as parents, help prepare them, at least give them a little bit of a head start. And for those who don't have parents who can do that, just realize if you do see yourself going to college, the way I did as a kid, is we got to start thinking about keeping our grades up, being good at something that could potentially be a scholarship available, skill set, and or just work an extra job, like put some money away and get ready for college.
And I think the reality for most families and most kids is it's going to be a combination of financial aid, work, and savings. There's very few families that can just write a check. I mean, that's just not the reality. And I know, once again, you heard my parents said, you're on your own. So I washed dishes in a restaurant. I cooked in a restaurant. I worked as a roofer. I worked as a carpenter. I worked summers. And
Good
I
for
still had student
you.
loan debt.
And
And it
look at you.
was,
You're the executive director of ISAC.
well,
It's very impressive.
it's been a long haul. I wouldn't say that. But, you know, I also would say I probably learned as much about life in working as a roofer as I did going to college.
That's awesome.
Right? You work
Yeah,
with
totally, 100%.
people from all walks of life. You respect their work. You work
Mhm.
hard, and those were great skill sets that have helped me the rest of my life.
I totally agree. I think, look, you know, we've been saving for our son in a 529. We can't afford to max out into it, but you know, he's got a little bit in there. And he's a straight A student right now. So, you know, I'm very thankful about that. He just got accepted to an academic center, so he tested in. So he's on this path, right, to hopefully be able to get scholarships. No guarantee, but hopefully he can do that so that he can help pay for his college, because we are going to make him have some skin in the game. And the minute he's able to work, we're going to have him work. You know, he's going to have a job and then start saving money, maxing out into a Roth IRA before he spends a penny on anything else. So it's like we're going to try to instill these habits in our son early on so that he understands that it's when he gets to college, he's helping to pay for that. So you better not blow off your classes. And you need to understand that that's your money that you're deciding to disrespect or to burn should you choose not to do your best when you're in that environment. So I think if we give everything to our kids, we're not really helping them. They've got to, like, you know, have some skin in the game, know what it's like to work a job that hopefully they won't want to work by the time they're done with college, but they know the value of that work. They understand the type of job they will end up doing if they don't educate themselves correctly and, you know, make those smart decisions. So, you know, I think to your point is great. Like, we deal with people from all walks of life, and the only way to really be able to connect with them is to actually walk in their shoes a little bit yourself.
I agree with that. And I think also, even though you may not be able to afford to pay all your son's costs, and you said you want him to have skin in the game, you're also clearly sending the message, I expect you to go to college. And maybe he won't want to go to college. Maybe he'll decide to do something different, and that's fine too. But
or start a business. He needs to do something productive. For Absolutely. Sure. We have high expectations.
Well, I think it's important to have high expectations because it helps people live up to them. That's but you're sending the message, college is important, and we think it's so important we're setting aside money to help you. It's not going to be a free ride. You're going to have skin in the game, but at least we have given you a good jump start.
Yeah, and you know, you said something else too that I want to talk a little bit about, and that's that parents should be careful to not overextend themselves when saving money for their kids. Because one thing I know is that my parents, because they did everything they could for us, but because they didn't save for their own retirement and future, right, to give us what we needed, they weren't in a position to actually enjoy their retirement. And so I have, as the daughter, and my oldest brother, Joaquin, we both have provided for my mom since the minute my dad died. They both retired on the same day. They had all these plans. And then boom, life gets in the way and my dad has a massive heart attack, dies not even a year into the retirement. And it just devastated our family and my mother, who had already left her job. And so we went from my parents having all these plans to my mom being fully dependent on her kids to have her get by, because she didn't have a big retirement account or any retirement account for that matter. And so I definitely now, having lived through that experience, and look, I'll never be rich. I always talk about money matters for people because I want them to be rich and I want our children to grow up with compound interest as their best friend, right? So it's like I love talking about these issues, but I'll measure my success in life by how I'm able to take care of my mom, right, in her years. And she's 89 now. God willing, will turn 90 in August. Unfortunately, had an accident and triggered dementia. But so there's all these other issues. But I just know that even though I love her more than anything, and I'm so proud and thankful to be her daughter and that I get to take care of her, I don't want my son being in that same position. So when we overextend ourselves for our kids, when we grow old, they might be in a position where they have to take care of us because we didn't look out for our own financial health. So it's better for your kids to actually take out a loan and learn how to work and repay it than it is for you to take out a loan at the expense of your retirement, because your kids end up paying for it anyway. And I think it could be worse and you don't know if is your kid going to be there to take care of you when you're older, right? I love taking care of my mom, and I don't mind. My husband's a wonderful husband who fully supports making sure that his mother-in-law is well taken care of as well. But not every family is like that, and not every kid will take care of their parents no matter what those parents did for them. So parents need to juggle both their kids and their long-term retirement, and those are tricky conversations to have, but they need to happen.
Well, I think, most people, when their kids are in college, they're going to be in their 40s and 50s, typically.
Mm-hmm.
Those are prime savings years for retirement.
Right.
And it's important that people put away for retirement. Once again, that compound interest force. And I mentioned my niece and her son going to college, and one of the things she asked me or told me was she has a colleague whose daughter was in college. They've taken out Parent Plus loans, and then they found out that she hadn't gone to class for 6 months and didn't drop out.
It's like a stake in the heart.
Yeah, and it's like, so now their child hasn't graduated college, don't know if she ever will, but they also have Parent Plus loans, and how are they going to manage that with retirement? So these are really emotional things.
For sure.
And I get where people want to do the best for their kids, but they also have to protect themselves. So on the airplane, they always say if the oxygen masks drop, put yours on first, because then you can help others.
Bingo, I love it.
And I think that's important way to think about it.
Very important way to think about it. So you did a much better job of summing up my point with the oxygen mask just alone. It was great.
Thank you.
Well, anything else you want to add before we wrap up?
I think, one thing I would add, once again, Illinois Student Assistance Commission, ISAC, our website is isac.org. We have a lot of free resources that are available to help people besides the ISAC core. So check out our website. We're happy. These are all free resources, and there's a lot of different free resources out there. Mm-hmm. So I think it's always important for people to take advantage of free resources. We are a state agency, so we're reputable. We're not going to steer you wrong. Get you into shady stuff.
No, I can attest for that.
Yeah. So please check out our resources. And once again, if you need help with your FAFSA or other college planning, go online and make an appointment with one of our ISAC core members.
Thank you. Listen, you were so awesome. I'd love to have you back.
I would love to come back. Absolutely.
All right, good. We'll figure out what other questions, So here's what I'm going to ask the audience is if there are questions that we didn't address today, please send us an email and we'll make sure that our number one director gives you a response.
I would love to come back.
Well, thank you. It's been wonderful to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thanks everyone for watching and listening. And be sure to tune in next time for more Money Matter discussions. See ya.